Hey everybody, welcome back to another MTB Science video. Today what I wanted to do was show you some testing I recently did with an athlete using BrakeAce, but this time we had the addition of a power meter and a heart rate monitor. Power meters and heart rate monitors have been around for a really long time, but BrakeAce is new and it's the first tool that we can use to understand what we're doing with our skills and what we're doing on descents. So remember, the BrakeAce sensor collects information every time you brake, and then the BrakeAce app crunches the data. We can use the information that the app gives us to compare from run to run. And the BrakeAce app also shows us where we can improve the most. With this particular test session, we did 4 days of testing with about 5 runs each day. We rode on the same trail, and this is New Zealand, so there were varied conditions because some days were raining and some days were dry. In between runs, we were changing things like tire pressures and suspension settings, and of course we went in and investigated the key opportunities so we could look to brake more efficiently and ride with more flow. So we recently did a whole video of how we use the key opportunity strategy to help a rider get a KOM on a trail in Rotorua, so check that out if you haven't seen that already. So for this particular test session, we also used the key opportunity strategy, and the rider did go faster on the final run. But today what I wanted to focus on was how we used BrakeAce in conjunction with the power meter and the heart rate monitor to find the best race strategy. Okay, so human engines are really limited in the work that they can do while still not getting overly fatigued. I've always been really interested in how riders could use what they do physically to maintain a really smooth ride and continue to go fast even when they're tired. So for my PhD, we set up a study like this where we tested riders going as fast as they could down a hill, and they were also allowed to pedal, and then they did another run where they just coasted. In the end, in that study, we found that there was no time difference whether you coasted or pedaled on this particular track. So what we knew is that they were wasting a lot of energy when they were pedaling. At the end of this study, we hypothesized that all this wasted energy was going into more braking, and that's why there was no difference in time. And this is what really led us to developing BrakeAce. Now I know we can't just be coasting all the time and always go fast, but now that we can see riders pedaling and braking information, we can come up with the optimal strategy to maximize flow. So what I wanted to go over today was this rider's final 2 runs out of 4 days of testing where we tried these different race strategies. So we had already gone through and tried to optimize how we were braking in the specific key opportunities, but this time we had one all-out race run and the other one was a smooth, optimized, flowy run. So let's open up BrakeAce and check it out now. All right, so I have the all-out run open here, and what you can see is his time for this run was 4 minutes and 37 seconds. So this was his fastest so far for this whole week. And his flow score, this was his best flow score as well, 82. So remember, the flow score represents the efficiency of his braking overall. So that's a super key metric when we're looking at braking and trying to understand how he's riding overall. So his total brake time was 1 minute and 3 seconds, which was actually quite a long time for just under a 5-minute track. And he braked 42 times. Okay, so in terms of pedaling, his normalized power was 256 watts with a max of 2013 watts. Overall, his average heart rate was 159 beats per minute with a maximum of 179 beats per minute. So you can see that on the helmet cam video. What was really interesting is I went in and I looked at this flat-ish pedal section right here. You can see that there's no braking, and it kind of went through a grass field. So he spent 28 seconds pedaling with an average of 413 watts and a maximum of 744 watts during his all-out run. What you can also see is after this flat pedal section, that's when we get to the biggest amount of braking, and that ended up being his major key opportunity on this track. So we can see all those events there, and then BrakeAce app filters down to the key opportunities. Okay, so remember his flow score overall was an 82. And the flow score for just this key opportunity was 50.8. So this is a massive area that we could look for improvement. So I went in and rode this section as well, and it was actually super difficult. It was really steep, really wet, lots of roots everywhere. But we knew that with how big the flow score was just on this section, if we could improve the riding in this section, we could go faster overall. But the problem is there's that flat pedal section where there's also a lot of time to be made. So we need to be able to optimize what we do in that flat pedal section so we can brake really efficiently. For this rider, as a professional, he's super fit, so he doesn't really need to worry about pedaling at 2000 watts. But what we do need to worry about is the payback for that, because we need to recover from that. So we looked at this and thought, let's not pedal as hard in this flat open section so we can ride smoother in that key opportunity. Okay, and now what we can do is open up the Flowy Run. So here's the Flowy Run in BrakeAce, and we can see right away the rider went faster, and this was amazing. So what we did is we tried to optimize how we pedaled in this flat, kind of uphill pedally section, and overall, his normalized power was 226 watts with a maximum power of 1251, so much lower than in the all-out run. His average heart rate ended up being 160, which is pretty much the same, with a maximum heart rate of 178 beats per minute. The major difference here is that in this flat pedal section, he only pedaled for 22 seconds, with an average of 385 watts and a maximum power of 581 watts. So overall, much less demand. So in his Flowy Run, he ended up braking 43 times for a total of 1 minute and 7 seconds. He had about the same brake balance, with about 68% with the rear brake and 32% with the front brake. So what I was really interested to see was what happened in BrakeAce in this major key opportunity. Overall, his flow score was lower, which means he was much more efficient with his braking. And then if we look at this key opportunity one, his flow score went from a 50.8 to a 45.9, which is a massive reduction. So the really interesting thing here is that when he was riding through this key opportunity in this Flowy Run, he did have a crash. So he hit a tree and he came and stalled, but he still went faster in this key opportunity by 0.1 second, even with the crash. So it wasn't just the major key opportunity that he was able to optimize better when he was riding with flow. In this key opportunity, he was able to reduce his flow score to 3.98, and in this key opportunity, he was able to reduce his flow score to 4.07. So I think what this video does is this highlights that while loose always feels fast, it isn't always the fastest way to get through a track. So by putting in a little bit less effort in the pedaling, this rider was able to brake more efficiently where it counted the most. And that was where he could gain the most time. So if we're left to guess, which is what we're doing with if we're not measuring anything, is that we're always going to settle on something that feels the fastest. But by using real data, we can save more energy and ride more efficiently. So based on the results of this testing, I'd really encourage you to go out and find your own optimal strategy. If you don't have access to BrakeAce, you can still use time. Time isn't as good because you don't actually know what you're doing in between there, but you really need to utilize all the technology that you have to be able to ride as smooth as possible. So I have a few different training sessions to work on this that I use with my athletes. You can go check those out on my website. Thanks for joining us for this analysis and how we used BrakeAce to help this rider get faster. This was super fun for me. I've been wanting to do it for a really long time, where we combine all the sensors into one. I hope you can use these strategies for yourself so you can ride smoother and faster yourself and just have more fun out there on the trails. Go check out our other videos that we did with BrakeAce. I think you'll find it really insightful, and I look forward to you getting a chance to use BrakeAce on your own bike. We'll see you next time.